The Breakfast Show here on Faith FM. And we are now going to call in Rod Bailey. Rod is our gardening and nature correspondent here on Faith FM, and he has been talking to us, Lawson, about how to move to the country. Some people really have that aspiration, the desire of living a life closer to nature, a more natural lifestyle. But it is a movement that should not be made harshly or speedily, hastily. And Rod is giving us a step-by-step guide on how to make that move in the best possible way. So, Rod, good morning to you. Welcome to The Breakfast Show.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Rod, tell us, so we have been talking about it for a couple of programs now, and you have a bit of a 11 steps program to moving to the country. Like just ask these questions before you move. So where are we up to in that list?
So last time we were together, we were talking about the self-analysis that's so important for us to do to see how prepared we are for this epic move, this escape from the city to the country. And we talked about assessing our health or our physical strength, our mental resources, and the practical skills we might need, and maybe ask ourselves the questions, are you ready for the do-it-yourself sort of lifestyle? Because living in the country, we need to be doing more in that space ourselves. So I thought I'd continue that today, and I've got 3 or 4 more points I'd like to bring up. And I guess I'd just like to preface it by saying, we are an extremely affluent society. Really, we're the richest in human history. We live lives of incredible comfort, which is wonderful, but it has made us pretty soft. Mm-hmm. And maybe we need to take some steps to turn that around a bit. Like, depending on our budget, a move to the country might entail our comfort levels needing to go down a notch or two. Like, property prices in the country are continuing to rise, and they're even outpacing the prices in the city. And so many of us, or most of us, won't be able to afford a place in the country with all the bells and whistles. And so, I think it would be really remiss of me not to mention this, because I think what you gents want, and maybe the listeners want, is some warts and all country living advice, yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, and so I need to ask a couple of questions around this comfort. Do you mind getting dirty?
Oh, great question.
What about you, Lawson? Let me see under your fingernails. Your fingernails are going to tell me if you...
See,
it's not the fingernails, it's the calluses. I got calluses all over my hands.
But this is from the gym, man. It's not from, using the hoe.
Maybe Lawson's got visions of being a gentleman farmer, like a clean Land Rover, wandering the estate, dungarees, watching someone else do the work. And maybe Lawson will have the budget for that, but the vast majority of us don't.
That's right.
And so, life in the country can often be a lot harder, a lot dirtier, and a lot sweatier than life in the city may be. But if we focus on that, we kind of miss the point, because it's the work that brings the blessings. Like we've talked before in the past about how in Genesis 3, God tells Adam that the thorns and the thistles and the sweat and the difficult conditions are for his sake. Yeah. A positive blessing will come as a result. So doing hard things gives us inestimable benefits. Yeah. And I guess my point is, now is the time, while you're preparing for this move, but before you move to the country, as part of that preparation, is to take steps out of your comfort zones to prepare yourselves.
But can you give us an example, Rod, in terms of, what kind of, because look, life in the country does not necessarily, it doesn't mean that you're going to suffer every day of cold. No. And so what kind of comforts, do usually people, would you tell people that, look, they're most often have to, they have to question themselves if they really want it, because surely there's a lot of benefits that come from moving to the country. So what kind of comforts do you think that people are more likely to give up?
So, my friend Tristan told me this week, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. Okay, I'm standing here. I'm outside our garden. It's 6 degrees. I've got one hand holding the phone and one in my pocket, and the one that's holding my phone is cold. All right?
Yes.
Real.
I'm not in a centrally heated house. Okay, I'm not going to jump in a warm, air-conditioned car to drive to a warm office. You know, every morning this time of year in my garden is cold. Whether, you know, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 degrees. But like, spare a thought for the people up at Orange. It's snowing there this morning.
Wow.
Okay, it's a couple of degrees above freezing, but it feels like minus 3.4. And there's farmers up there that are getting out of bed this morning to go and check their sheep.
Yeah.
Okay, or maybe you're going to run out of water, you know, on Friday night, Friday evening, just as everyone's having their showers preparing for Sabbath. And you're going to have to go out in the cold and find out what's going on with the water. Maybe you'll need to get to the point where you're, you know, I mean, I could just keep on going and giving you examples. You know, we just need to be outside of our comfort zone. And part of that is asking ourselves the question, can we rough it? Like, myself, when my family first shifted to the country, when we bought our first property, I was probably 12, and we lived in a tent for 6 months.
Wow.
You know, and not all of us will need to live in a swag. I mean, our kids slept in swags here on this property while we were building our house for 3 years. You know, not all of us will need to live in a tent or a swag or a van or a shed, but maybe you will. And so I guess we need to ask what's our mindset, this sort of discomfort, and because it is about mindset. Like, I met a young couple at a farmers meeting a couple of weeks ago, and they were visiting from the city and staying in an Airbnb. And the first night they were there, the hot water went on the blink, and they had showers outside on a frosty evening, okay, and freezing cold water. The frost was on the ground, but it made them feel so alive that they decided they had to leave the comforts of the city, their city apartment, for a real life in the country. Now, what a mindset is that, right?
That's right. And I guess that this is the point here. It's a matter of mindset of really embracing the human strength and resilience. Because the question is, once you, I didn't live in the country, but my family always had a property in the country, and it was rough. Like, it was a little bit rough like that. Like, with all the challenges of country life. So I kind of grew up with that lifestyle. Even though I didn't live there, I went there very frequently. I had the opportunity to serve in the army. They also have to roughen up a little bit. And to me personally, I personally enjoy these things, but I understand that it's not for everyone. But if I was going to ask you, Rod, would you trade your lifestyle in the country for a more comfortable, for, you know, the hot water on demand and, you know, clean driveways, you know, or do you think that the freedom that living, you know, in God, you know, next to God's great nature far outweighs that, you know, that those conveniences? What's your position there?
I would need God to write it in the sky for me to shift back to the city. You know, and now we've been through those hard yards. Now we've got the hot water. Now we've got solar power that's reliable. You know, but you know, we might need to rough it in a shed house till you can save and own and build that humble house. You know, so are we flexible? I wouldn't be going back. But the question is, are we willing to be inconvenienced? Are we ready not to just duck down to the shops every day because the supermarket's actually a 30-minute drive away? Are we ready for everything, including the inconvenience that comes with the relative isolation? And the next point, if we've got a few more minutes, is are we willing to do without? You know, are we willing to menu plan to manage or limit the trips to town? Boys, are we willing to swap our toys for tools? You know, this state means a serious change of priorities. And to be frank, if we cling to our idols, we will bring the city to the country when we move to the country. And we will be living in the country, but you will not be country living, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Yeah,
You know,
look, I've met families that shared stories with me where basically they left the city, but the city never left them, in the sense that they never really embraced that life in the country. And and for example, the children just grew up with the whole set of video games and social medias and all of that, things that it's doesn't really match with the country lifestyle if you're going to go towards the more natural way.
that's correct. And, it's time for us as parents to lead by example. It's time to cut our Netflix and Fox Sport now, Time to consider selling our TV now and invest the time and money in our escape plan, and prove to yourself, to God and your family, that you're serious about this escape, because we need to be on the same page as a family. This escape is a serious disruption of life, and it's really difficult to win a battle if different troops in your army have different objectives they want to reach.
Yeah.
So we need unity and purpose, but as parents, as fathers particularly, we need to lead on gently. I'm thinking, especially our wives, I'm thinking Isaiah 40 verse 11, where, we're adjured to gently lead those that are with young. And then the story of Jacob in Genesis 33, to lead on softly. And so as we're planning this move, we need to particularly address our wives and our children. We as parents make the decisions, but we need our children to be key allies in this move. And this is age dependent. The younger they are, the easier it is. The older they are, the more difficult it will be. And it's child dependent as well. Some kids will be just up for this. They're just so inspired. But we need to talk about it together as a family, inspire them with a vision of a new life, take short trips to give kids a positive experience. Visit families that are doing it and where the kids are living a happy life.
Yeah.
We need to inspire them. We need to be patient with them, because depending on their age, we're taking them away from their friends, their school, their church friends. And it's easy for the kids just to see, like, what are we going to lose, or what are we going to give up? And so our role is to inspire them, win their trust and confidence, and so that they understand that we, as their loving parents, whenever we ask them to give something up, we always give them something better. That's how God deals with us, and that's how we do with kids. Always inspire them and let them know that the life we're going to is going to be infinitely better than what we're experiencing now, because it's God's plan for us and our family.
Yeah. Rod, that is some really, really good points here, and I think that it's definitely part of the preparation. Asking that question: what are we willing to go without? Are we willing to rough it out? Are we really serious about that escape from the city to the country, so that we can lead a simpler, more nature-filled, and most importantly, more God-filled life through that step? So thank you so much for helping us to think about these topics here. So for all of us who are considering that move to the country, you can catch up in the previous podcast with Rod Bailey on faithfm.com.au. If you go to The Breakfast Show, you will see all the interviews with him, and you can better prepare yourself for that move to the country if that's something that God has placed in your heart. Rod, thank you so much. We're looking forward to have you again